Our friends over at PowerStop Extreme Performance know that finding a complete rotor and pad kit for Mustangs can be a bear. That's why they developed another version of their complete Mustang brake kit for 2011 to 2014 Mustangs equipped with front Brembo brakes. Starting with the rear brakes, unbolt the 2 bolts on the backside of the caliper to remove it from the bracket. The old brake pads will slide out along with the retainer clips. Removing the caliper bracket is next with its 2 bolts, and it will slide off the rotor. Once the bracket is removed, slide the rotor off the hub. To tighten the caliper piston back into the caliper, we briefly bolted it back on the wheel hub for support while we turned the caliper piston. We removed the brake caliper again and placed on the new rotor to the hub. Reattach and tighten the caliper bracket, then place the new retainer clips on the bracket. Slide on the new brake pads, making sure the clips stay in their place. The caliper will now slide onto the bracket, but make sure the springs on the new pads stay correctly aligned. Once they are set, bolt down the caliper to the bracket to finish the rear brakes. Moving up to the front brakes, they will install with the same concept but with minor differences. Unbolt the caliper from the hub and slide the caliper off the rotor. Take the old rotor off the hub and replace it with the new PowerStop rotor. To remove the old pads from the rotor, punch the 2 retaining pins out of the top of the caliper. Hold down the metal plate to relieve the tension on the pins. Then take out the pins and the metal plate. The pads can now be removed from the top of the caliper. To compress the pistons back into the front calipers, take one of the old brake pads and use it as a backing plate against the pistons in the caliper. Using a pair of pliers, squeeze the pistons back inside the caliper. The empty caliper can be set back in place on the rotor and bolted down. Slide the new pads through the top of the caliper, making sure they are on the correct side of the rotor. To reinstall the pins and metal plate, punch in the top pin first, then slide in the plate, followed by the lower retaining pin. This finishes up the PowerStop brake installation on your Brembo equipped Mustang. Don't forget to properly brake in the pads and rotors on your first drive after the installation.